Welcome to my flipped classroom. Today we're going to be talking about the impact of World War I. Woodrow Wilson is president, and he writes a manifesto of sorts, and it's known as Wilson's 14 Points. And in it, he outlines America's aims for the war. Generally speaking, America wants what's known as peace without victory. His biggest points are points 1 through 5 and 14. Point 1 talks about covenants of peace between the nations. Point 2 talks about freedom of the seas for trade and navigation for all countries. Point 3 talks about removing trade barriers, lowering tariffs, and removing embargoes so that there can be free trade among all the nations. 4 talks about a reduction of armaments, a lessening of the arms races going on around the world. Point 5 talks about self-determination, in that all countries should be able to choose their own government. And point 14 focused on setting up an association of nations to promote peace. It'll be known as the League of Nations. The treaty that ended World War I is the Treaty of Versailles. The Allied leaders meet at Versailles to reestablish peace in Europe and punish Germany. The leaders are Wilson from the United States, George from Great Britain, Clemenceau from France, and Orlando from Italy. They're known as the Big Four. They blame Germany for the war officially, even though, if you'll remember, Germany did not start the war. And Germany has to pay reparations. Reparations are paying for the damages caused during the war. The Big Four set up the League of Nations as an organization for countries to peacefully solve problems. It's a great idea in theory, and it's a forerunner of what will become the United Nations. There is opposition to the Treaty of Versailles, primarily from the United States. The American Senate is not pleased with the treaty. They feel that it's an alliance in disguise. Wilson needs Congress to approve the treaty. After all, the Constitution checks and balances. The Senate must approve the treaty. Many don't like the fact that America was even in the war, because at heart, we're still a nation of isolationists, and others dislike parts of the treaty. The whole idea of foreign entanglements equaling alliances. It was not ratified. The League of Nations is not powerful like it could be because the U.S. is not a member. It's a case of being good enough for the United States to help create, but not good enough for the U.S. to join. The Dawes Plan. Germany goes into a state of hyperinflation. They just start printing money left and right trying to pay this war debt. And their money has no value. So they're not able to pay the war debt. And they default. So a plan is devised, the Dawes Plan. The money would be paid in annual installments, and a Bank of Germany was set up. It's an okay plan, and it works until the Great Depression hits. Germany is not happy with what's going on. They don't like the way they're being treated. And the time is right for a leader like Adolf Hitler to rise to power. Effects of the war. There's a flu epidemic around the world that makes adjustment to peace even harder. Millions of people die. African Americans and women lose gains when jobs become competitive again. All those men that enlisted come home and they need work, and they take back the jobs that the women and African Americans had been filling. Inflation makes it hard for people to buy consumer goods and pay debt. So you have kind of a post-war economic slump, which is very natural. Another effect of the war are the Palmer raids. The United States goes through a thing called the Red Scare. There's a widespread fear of communist radicals. There's a fear that these communist radicals are plotting a revolution in the United States. It comes about on the heels of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. Because remember, after the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, Russia pulls out of World War I, and the communists have taken over. Attorney General Palmer leads a series of raids, and thousands of people are arrested as suspected communists, and they are primarily radicals and immigrants. Sacco and Vanzetti are suspected anarchists who are accused of killing 2 people. They're arrested, tried, and executed without any hard evidence. And it's a prime example of nativism playing a big role in deciding the fate of 2 men who may or may not have been innocent. A return to normalcy. Warren G. Harding is running for president. During his campaign, he uses the slogan, return to normalcy. He wanted to return to a time before progressivism. America should be neutral in world affairs. He rejected Wilson's ideas. And he wins the election and comes into office. He wants to take America back to a time before all the progressive measures go into play. One thing that happens under Harding's administration is the Washington Naval Conference. It's held by Harding outside the League of Nations because, remember, the United States is not a member. And it's a disarmament conference. A lot of nations attend. And the countries agree to slow down militarism, the arms race. But the question remains, who will break their promise first? Thanks so much. See you soon.